Hello and welcome to On Your Lane. This is the best place for ambitious people who are taking charge of their lives, making that income, making that impact, and living fulfilling lives. And today we are getting deeper into relationships, right? We're talking about relationships that work. Yes, how to build strong, how to build successful, beneficial, healthy relationships.
Hey! So this is part 2. We covered part 1 last week. So I hope you're able to watch part 1 before you watch part 2. You're able to catch up so that you don't miss the whole context of this video. Let's move in and get deeper with this lesson.
Let's talk about them. We talked about you. Now let's talk about them. First of all, they are a product of their environment. You have to understand what that means. And this is why I always say the dating culture right now, I don't know if I would survive in it. Like right now, being the person that I am, I'm just like, this wouldn't work. Because this whole, you can't be so serious on the first date. Don't show your interest like you're too interested or you're too keen. What are we doing? Playing games? No. I'm going to show you how interested I am. And I might not be as interested, but I'm going to ask you deep questions, right? Why are we asking deep questions? Because they will reveal the environment this person grew in, right? It will show you their flaws outside the facade. Ask them something uncomfortable, something deep, something that reveals them to you. Are you in debt? That's an uncomfortable question, but are they? And if they can't answer that straight, that gives you something to think about, right? How's your relationship with your family? If they don't treat their parents right, they're like, okay, I don't talk to them anymore, that is showing you something about them, right? They also grew up in a certain environment. They're also being hurt. They've also been exposed to various things. And that will show you what that means. It will show you what it means for you. Are you willing to work with this? Can you understand this? People in his home, the qualities he admires in his parents, let him share stuff like that. The qualities he doesn't admire or she doesn't admire in her parents or who are closest to you. What do you like about them, don't like about them? Like, just hear. That sounds like casual talk, does it? Maybe I don't know casual talk, but those are things you ask and they show you something about who you're talking to and what you're dealing with. Because you need to know. Because that will bring in issues or that will bring in blessings. Now, as you go into this relationship more and more with this person, see the patterns. I believe that it's easy for a person to come and sell themselves and speak a good game a couple of times, but over time you should be able to see their patterns. They're always late, they always lie, or no, they keep their word, or they're organized, or they judge other people, like all these patterns. Now, don't ignore patterns, because patterns are a great resource to show you that this is who I am. This is how I operate. And I see a lot of people like to say, they'll change. Though patterns are hard to change unless a person comes to a certain realization. You could say, okay, I'll change for you. It never really works because any change has to come from an internal source. And if it doesn't, there'll be some challenges, some issues that happen in life that will expose that change was weak. Right? So you could say, I'm no longer borrowing money because I'm committed to you, because you don't want me to borrow and whatever. Then I will start wanting things. The habits will start kicking in. Again, I want things. And the relationship will go through ups and downs, obviously, normally. And then you find that I'm going back to my habits. Those are strong habits. I didn't have a strong reason why to break some patterns. So when you meet somebody and they show you their patterns, believe those patterns. Don't make excuses for the patterns. Don't say, well, it's because they grew up in this or they're dealing with this issue. That's why they have these patterns. Patterns hardly change. And patterns are not for show. They are showing you how this person operates. It's like a system, right? When they're angry, they beat you. And then they come and apologize, get flowers. They're angry, they'll beat you. And they come apologize, get flowers or get something more expensive. They're angry, that's a pattern. Don't make excuses like, I need to stop making them angry. No. Like when they get paid, they spend. And then they borrow, they spend, borrow. And then you're like, but then it's because they're not paid very well. They come home, they're complaining about everybody they are working with. Whether in a business, everybody's making mistakes. They're not making mistakes. Those are patterns. You say, how is it that they don't see that they make mistakes? And you can make excuses for it. But the thing is, after the love phase fades, you are going to be a victim of the very patterns that were being portrayed. So I'm not saying that you find somebody perfect, but you just have to see those patterns and if it's something you can work with. I've met a couple of ladies who have complained about their husband's drinking problem. They say he drinks too much. It's not right. And I always like to ask, when did they start drinking? And it's always a shame from my experience that most of the people have been drinking from the time they were hanging out, from the time they met. That person never showed any sign of slowing down. They knew that on Friday, the guy is drunk. He won't be able to talk till maybe Sunday or till Saturday evening, stuff like that. And I'm like, well, this is going to be tricky for you to deal with right now because it was part of the deal. This is who they were from the start. So watch those patterns and know whether it breaks any deals for you or it's something you can develop with, grow with, and learn to live with, and maybe find a positive spin on it as well. Now we're going to the third approach, the third portion, which is the contract, the agreement. There is you, there is them, and the agreement, right? Ultimately, you and them bring what comes into the agreement. The agreement is not a special box that you enter in and say, now we are in a relationship, all those habits are gone. No. A lot of times, we assume that when we get married, there'll be some things that will just naturally stop. But it doesn't work that way. Just because you have gotten into an agreement today doesn't necessarily mean some things will just cease to exist in your life. No, things cease to exist when you cut them at their source. And then they'll keep coming back up until you keep cutting and digging and uproot it. You know, that kind of thing. That is consistency in fixing your behaviors and your habits. And therefore, just because you're now in a relationship, you won't stop womanizing. Just because you're now in a relationship, you won't stop God digging. Just because you're now in a relationship, you won't settle down, man or woman, right? So it's really, really important that you understand what you're bringing. Number one, what is happening here? What are we bringing into this thing? And where are we going? Okay, if you just come in and say, we'll see how it goes, then everything goes. And then you can't later say, now we've seen where it goes, let's change how we deal with each other. No, like every agreement, every contract has one party and the other party, they come together and they say, this is what we bring to the table. What do you bring? This. Okay, so what are we going to work together on? This. I'm not saying marriage or a relationship should be like that contractual, but what I'm saying is at least have an idea of the vision you're attaining and make sure you're on the same page with it. You might be saying, okay, we're going this way, and the person is like, I am definitely not going that way. What does that mean for you? What does it mean for your expectations? Because why relationships are powerful is because they can frustrate your whole life easily. They can hurt you for life easily, but they can also do the positive, like bless you for life, increase you for life, prosper your life easily as well. But there has to be this convergence of visions, convergence of dreams, right? So know where we're going, what are you bringing in it? Okay, and how open are we to reviews on this, right? It sounds so formal, but it's not like you're going to say, how open are we to reviews? It's just like you're trying to see flexibility, right? There's flexibility that can be attained in terms of the vision. Maybe you thought, okay, we're going to be billionaires, and then you find out, okay, maybe we're going to be millionaires, but it doesn't change completely from we're going to be billionaires together and build a business, and all of a sudden, no, we're going to just be like missionaries. Unless God intervenes and changes the both of you, that is going to cause some issues, because there's going to be one who's saying missionary work, another one's a billionaire, and now you're conflicting, you're bumping heads. It's not going to work. Right, so be clear on the vision where we're going and have the flexibility to know that we're going to work towards it and we'll be making adjustments. Not total adjustments, but just adjustments that allow us to get there. So when you're clear of your vision, that is your end game, right? But you also want to have some rules. What are your values? Some people value family, some people value work, some people would say, I value integrity, I value honesty. What are my deal breakers? Like, okay, if you cheat on me, if you lie on me, or you and your family connive against me, whatever, you're jealous, things that you will say, okay, we're going to have to sound an alarm when this comes. And you have to be able to say, when we have an issue and you and I can't agree, and we have agreed that we can't agree, and it's becoming an issue in our marriage, where do we go with this stuff? It's becoming an issue in our relationship. Where do we go in this stuff? Conflict resolution is important, because in all these things I'm telling you, it's not like you're going to find a perfect person or be in a perfect relationship that just flows. There's going to be challenges, again, because you're coming from different places and you're trying to merge two different systems. But there's a way for you to actually say, okay, how can we then, in our differences, be able to come together? Do you need maybe time apart when we're angry so that you can come down and we meet again maybe after an hour or 2 hours? What do I do when I have annoyed you? Stuff like that. I checked, I say, okay, that reaction scared me. What was that about? Did I say something? Stuff like that. So you can have conflict resolution pathways, right, that allow you to keep moving forward. You can have those clear values that integrity is a must, honesty is a must, taking care of my family is a must, stuff like that, that are values for you. And then boundaries, right? So you have your vision, but these boundaries and values will help you make consistent progress towards those things. So those are the three areas: you, them, and the contract. Ultimately, relationships are a blessing. It's just better when two work together. There's another scripture that actually says that if you are with another person, when another person falls, they can help you up. And you can do that with friendship, I guess, but when you are in a marital or romantic relationship, it's supposed to be deeper than friendship. It's supposed to be a deep, deep unity that even God endorses when you get married. And therefore, it brings so many blessings, so much good. But just like any other good in life has to be cultivated, relationships have to be cultivated. I believe that most of us get it wrong in the foundation stage. So being very aware of these things when you're starting, seeking, when you're single or starting again is very important. Doing this work after you've been married for a couple of years still works, but it's just harder because the person is who they are. Now it's going to demand more patience from you. It's going to demand more learning from you. Whereas when you're just starting, you have the privilege of saying, I don't want that drama, I'm sorry. I was talking to my friend the other day and she was beaten 2 different occasions by 2 different guys, and I was like, you have to work on this before you date somebody else, because it will not stop. You keep attracting such people and you keep giving excuses for them, like, okay, they didn't want to do this, they didn't want to do that, and it's going to ruin your life. There are a lot of promising people whose lives become ruined because of their relationship choices. And sometimes it's desperation, you want to settle down. Sometimes it's looking down on the whole relationship, not holding it in high esteem enough to invest in it. Because I know in our time people are saying you don't need that kind of seriousness, you don't need relationships and stuff like that, but we do need them. They are a blessing. If you choose to commit to them, then do follow the rules and the protocols that help you have a great one. Like I said in my story, I realized at some point that I was looking for something good but using the pathways of something rotten, something bad. And there was no way something bad was going to give fruit to something good. There was no way that was going to happen. And so I decided I really do want a great marriage and I'm willing to do the work. Are you willing to do the work? Share any points that you have learned from here in the comments. If you want to do more work on your relationships, then I invite you to sign up for a class that I have titled Relationships at Work: How to Build Strong, Lasting, Successful, Healthy Relationships. I believe it will be valuable to you. You can find it in the description box. My name is Memphis Tandizoganjaza. You can find me across all social media platforms. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.